The signal came on a frequency no one had used in centuries. It was old. Analog. Desperate. Captain Jenna Kovacs stood on the bridge of the Meridian's Hope, staring at the garbled transmission cycling across her screen. The words were broken, layered with static, but the meaning was clear enough. Help us. Please. Anyone. Captain, the translation matrix is having trouble, Lieutenant Chen said from the communications station. The language is Threscan, but the dialect is archaic. This colony must have been isolated for generations. Jenna didn't look away from the screen. How many people? Chen hesitated. Based on the settlement signatures we're picking up, approximately 42 million. 42 million lives. Jenna felt the weight of that number settle into her chest like a stone. What's attacking them? She asked. Unknown, Captain. But the energy readings are wrong. They're not matching anything in our database. Whatever's out there, it's consuming the planet's electromagnetic field. Draining it dry. Jenna's jaw tightened. She turned to her navigation officer. How long to reach Thresky, 7? 18 hours at maximum burn, Captain. 18 hours. Jenna wondered how many of those 42 million would still be alive by then. She opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Captain Kovacs of the Meridian's Hope. We've intercepted a distress call from Thresky, 7. Request immediate authorization to respond. The reply came faster than she expected. Negative, Meridian's Hope. The Galactic Assembly has already received that signal. They've declared the system a quarantine zone. All species are ordered to maintain distance. Jenna's blood went cold. Quarantine? There are 42 million civilians down there. Understood, Captain. But the Assembly believes that whatever's attacking Thresky, 7 is a remnant of the eclipsing swarm. They're afraid intervention will draw it toward populated space. The Assembly voted to let it burn out. Let it burn out. Jenna stared at the static-filled transmission still cycling on her screen. She could hear voices buried in the noise. Screaming. Pleading. Captain. Chen's voice was quiet. What are your orders? Jenna looked around her bridge. 16 crew members. Most of them barely out of the academy. The Meridian's Hope wasn't even a warship, it was a deep space survey vessel with light defensive armaments and a crew trained for exploration, not combat. By every tactical measure, this was suicide. Navigation, Jenna said slowly, plot a course for Thresky, 7. Maximum burn. There was a moment of silence. Captain, Chen said carefully, Earth Command just ordered us to stand down. I heard them. If we disobey a direct order. Then we disobey a direct order. Jenna turned to face her crew. I'm not asking any of you to follow me. If you want to transfer to another ship, I'll authorize it right now. No questions. No consequences. No one moved. Lieutenant Chen was the first to speak. With respect, Captain, if you're going, we're going. One by one, the rest of the bridge crew nodded. Jenna felt something fierce and proud rise in her chest. Then let's go save some people. The Meridian's Hope turned toward the dying world. Across the galaxy, in the glittering halls of the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Tehran of the Vril Collective watched the human vessel change course. They're going, he said, disbelief threading through his voice. The humans are actually going. Counselor Shera, a towering figure from the Corvith Dominion, leaned forward. One ship. Against the swarm. It's not even a military vessel, Tehran said. It's a survey ship. 16 crew members. No heavy weapons. Shera's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter or pity. Then they're dead already. Foolish. Brave, perhaps, but foolish. Tehran said nothing. He simply watched the tiny human ship accelerate toward the quarantine zone, alone against the dark. On Thresky 7, Governor Miron stood on the balcony of her crumbling command center and watched the sky burn. The things in the darkness had no name. They were shadows that moved wrong, shapes that bent light and swallowed sound. They came in waves, consuming everything they touched, energy, matter, life itself. Her shields were failing. Her people were dying. And the galaxy had abandoned them. Miron closed her eyes. She had sent the distress call 3 days ago. She had begged. Pleaded. Offered everything her world had. No one had come. Governor. Her aide's voice was hoarse. There's a ship. One ship. It's human. Miron opened her eyes. Human. Yes, Governor. They're broadcasting. They say they're coming to help. Miron felt something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. Fragile. Impossible. Desperate. But hope nonetheless. She looked up at the burning sky and whispered a prayer in a language older than her civilization. Let them be enough. The Meridian's hope dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Thresky system, and Jenna immediately understood why the galaxy had run away. The darkness wasn't empty space. It was alive. It moved like oil across water, spreading in impossible patterns that hurt to look at directly. Shapes writhed within the shadow, things that might have been tentacles or wings or neither. They pulsed with a rhythm that felt wrong, like a heartbeat playing backwards. Captain, Chen's voice was tight, I'm reading massive electromagnetic drain across the entire system. The planet's magnetic field is collapsing. Life support systems are failing planet-wide. Jenna gripped the edge of her command chair. Time until total collapse. 4 hours. Maybe less. 4 hours to evacuate 42 million people. Impossible. But impossible had never stopped humanity before. Open a channel to the surface, Jenna ordered. All frequencies. The view screen flickered, and a face appeared. Pale blue skin, silver eyes wide with exhaustion and fear. Governor Miron. This is Captain Jenna Kovacs of Earth Vessel Meridian's Hope. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Miron stared at her. One ship. One ship, Jenna confirmed. For now. But we're not leaving without you. Captain, with respect, you cannot possibly evacuate 42 million people with a survey vessel. You're right. We can't. Jenna leaned forward. But we're not here to evacuate. We're here to fight. Silence stretched across the transmission. Fight? Myron's voice cracked. The Assembly sent 3 battle fleets against the swarm 2 centuries ago. All 3 were destroyed. You have 16 people and a science ship. How can you possibly? Governor, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Miron looked at Jenna for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. What do you need? Everything you know about those things. Every sensor reading. Every failed defense attempt. Send it all. Sending now. Data flooded the Meridian's Hope's computers. Jenna turned to her science officer, Dr. Amara Osei. Amara, talk to me. Dr. Osei's fingers flew across her console. The swarm entities operate on quantum uncertainty principles. They exist in multiple states simultaneously, which makes conventional weapons ineffective. They phase through solid matter, absorb energy-based attacks, and seem to feed on electromagnetic fields. Weaknesses? Unknown. Every species that encountered them either fled or died. Jenna smiled grimly. Then I guess we'll have to find out the hard way. Chen, how many colonists can we jam into our cargo holds if we strip life support to minimal? Maybe 800. 1,000 if we're creative. Not enough. Not nearly enough. Jenna stood. But it's a start. Navigation, take us into orbit. Defensive pattern delta. Amara, I need you to figure out how to hurt those things. Captain, I don't even know if they can be hurt. Then we're about to run a very dangerous experiment. The Meridian's hope descended toward the dying world. The swarm noticed. Shadows peeled away from the planet's surface, rising like smoke in reverse. They moved without sound, without light, consuming everything in their path. Contact, Chen called out. 12 entities converging on our position. Weapons online, Jenna ordered. Let's see what they don't like. The first entity struck the ship's shields. Alarms screamed. The lights flickered. Shields at 60%, Chen reported. Single hit. Captain, we can't take many more of those. Fire railguns. Spread pattern. Solid projectiles tore through space. Most passed harmlessly through the shadow entities. But one, just one, struck something solid within the darkness. The entity convulsed, fragmenting into smaller shadows that scattered like startled birds. The bridge erupted in shocked silence. Did we just? Chen stared at his screen. Kinetic weapons, Dr. Osei breathed. They phase through energy, but solid matter forces them to collapse their quantum state. They have to become real to avoid physical objects. Jenna's mind raced. Which means they can be hit. They can be hurt. Chen, recall every piece of debris in orbital space. Navigation, I need chaotic movement patterns. Random acceleration. Make us unpredictable. Captain. These things exist in probability states. They predict where we'll be and phase to intercept. But if we're random, if we're chaotic, they can't predict us. They have to solidify to engage. It was insane. It was also humanity in a nutshell. The Meridian's hope began to dance. On the surface, Governor Miron watched the human ship spiral through impossible maneuvers, dodging between swarm entities like a leaf in a hurricane. It fired projectiles made of ice, rock, metal, anything solid. It ejected waste containers as improvised weapons. It even jettisoned pieces of its own hull plating as kinetic projectiles. The humans were stripping their own ship apart to fight. They're mad, her aide whispered. No, Miron said quietly. They're desperate. And desperate people do impossible things. A transmission crackled through. Captain Kovacs, her face streaked with sweat. Governor, we've bought you maybe 2 hours. Use them. Get your people to the southern continent. We're detecting lower swarm concentration there. Fortify. Dig in. Help is coming. Captain, you said you came alone. I lied. Jenna grinned fiercely. I sent a message to Earth before we jumped. I told them what we were doing. I told them we needed help. And knowing my people. They're already on their way. Miron felt tears sting her eyes. Why? Why would your people risk war with the Assembly? Risk everything for strangers? Jenna's expression softened. Because you asked. Because someone had to. Because that's what humans do. The transmission cut out as another swarm entity slammed into the Meridian's hope. But Governor Miron was already running, shouting orders, organizing her people. Hope burned brighter now. Above the planet, Captain Jenna Kovacs watched her ship's structural integrity drop to critical levels. Captain, Chen said quietly, we're not going to last much longer. I know. Earth Command is ordering us to retreat. I know. Captain. I'm not leaving, Chen. Not while people are still dying down there. The view screen showed the swarm gathering, massing, preparing for a final strike. And then, like stars igniting in the darkness, faster-than-light signatures bloomed across the system. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Ships from Earth. Ships from Mars. Ships from colonies Jenna had never even heard of. Humanity had come. Not with one ship. With an entire fleet. The human fleet emerged from faster than light like a swarm of angry hornets. They weren't organized. They weren't uniform. Some were military cruisers bristling with weapons. Others were cargo haulers retrofitted with railguns. A few were civilian transports that had no business being in a combat zone at all. But they came anyway. Admiral Marcus Chen, no relation to Lieutenant Chen, though the coincidence made Jenna smile despite everything, broadcast across all channels. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. We heard someone needed help." Jenna's hands trembled on her command chair. "Admiral, you beautiful bastard. Captain Kovacs, sit back and watch how it's done. All ships, engage at will. Remember your training, solid projectiles only. Make every shot count. And for God's sake, stay unpredictable." The human fleet scattered like seeds in the wind. What followed wasn't a battle. It was chaos. Human ships dove, weaved, spun, and danced through space in patterns that defied military doctrine. They fired ice torpedoes, metal slugs, even compressed garbage. One mining vessel released its entire cargo of asteroid fragments, creating a deadly cloud of debris that forced dozens of swarm entities to solidify and become vulnerable. The swarm had existed for millions of years. It had destroyed civilizations. It had never encountered anything like humanity. Because humanity fought like they had everything to lose and nothing left to fear. On Thresky 7, the sky changed. Governor Miron watched through the observation dome as human ships streaked overhead, their engines burning bright against the darkness. Swarm entities disintegrated under sustained kinetic bombardment. The shadows were retreating. "Governor," her aide said, wonder in his voice, "they're winning." "No," Miron corrected softly. "We're winning. Together." Human soldiers were already landing. Not just soldiers, engineers, medics, rescue specialists. They moved through the ruined cities with grim determination, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings, setting up emergency shelters, distributing supplies. A human marine, barely older than Myron's own daughter, approached her. The young woman's armor was scorched, her face streaked with ash, but her eyes were fierce. "Ma'am, Lieutenant Sarah Park, Birth Corps. We're here to get you out. There are still people trapped in the eastern districts. We know. We're already there." Park gestured, and Miron saw dozens of human rescue teams fanning out across the city. "You've held this world together for 3 days against impossible odds, Governor. Let us take it from here." Miron felt something break inside her. Relief. Gratitude. Exhaustion. She nodded, unable to speak. Lieutenant Park squeezed her shoulder gently. "You did good. Now let us finish the job." In orbit, the battle reached its crescendo. Dr. Osei had been working frantically, analyzing swarm biology with every scrap of data they'd gathered. Now she looked up, her eyes wide. "Captain, I've got it. The entities are linked. There's a central node coordinating them, think of it like a quantum entanglement nexus. If we can disrupt it, the whole swarm collapses." "Where?" "At the center of their formation." "But Captain, the energy required to reach it would mean overloading our reactor. It would destroy the ship." Jenna looked around her bridge. At Chen, who'd followed her into hell without hesitation. At Dr. Osei, brilliant and brave. At every crew member who'd chosen to stand when the galaxy chose to run. "Everyone off the ship," Jenna said quietly. "That's an order. Life pods. Now." "Captain." "That's an order, Lieutenant." Chen stood. "With respect, Captain, go to hell. We're staying." The rest of the bridge crew nodded in agreement. Jenna felt her throat tighten. "You idiots. You beautiful idiots. Navigation," she said, her voice rough with emotion, "plot a collision course with that nexus. Engineering, start reactor overload sequence. Let's finish this. The Meridian's Hope turned toward the heart of darkness. Admiral Chen watched the survey ship's trajectory and understood immediately what they were doing. All ships, cover the Meridian's Hope. Clear them a path. Whatever it costs. The human fleet closed ranks, forming a corridor of fire and steel. They poured everything they had into the swarm, opening a narrow passage through the writhing shadows. The Meridian's Hope accelerated, her engines burning at 200% capacity. On the bridge, alarms screamed. The hull groaned. The reactor whined toward critical mass. 30 seconds to impact, Chen reported. Jenna opened a channel to the fleet. To the planet. To everyone. This is Captain Jenna Kovacs. To everyone listening, human, Threskin, or otherwise, remember this. Remember that when darkness came, we didn't run. We didn't hide. We stood. Together. That's what humanity is. That's what we do. 10 seconds. And if the galaxy wants to know what we're capable of. 5 seconds. Tell them we're just getting started. The Meridian's Hope struck the quantum nexus. Reality screamed. The ship's reactor detonated in a cascade of energy that shouldn't have been possible. The explosion ripped through dimensional barriers, disrupting the quantum entanglement that held the swarm together. For one brilliant moment, the darkness became light. Then the swarm collapsed. Every entity across the system shattered simultaneously, dissolving into harmless photons. The shadows burned away like fog before the sun. Silence fell across Thresky, 7. 3 days later, Governor Miron stood in the Galactic Assembly chambers. The hall was packed. Every species, every faction, every power in known space had come to hear what she would say. The galaxy abandoned us, Miron said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. You declared us acceptable losses. You voted to let 42 million people die rather than risk your own safety. She paused, letting the shame settle. But one species didn't run. One species, younger than most of yours, smaller than most of your empires, with less advanced technology than you possess, heard our cry and came. Humanity lost 16 people saving my world. 16 souls who chose to stand when you chose to hide. Captain Jenna Kovacs and her crew gave everything so that we might live. Myron's silver eyes blazed. You ask what humans are capable of. They're capable of courage you've forgotten. Sacrifice you abandoned. Honor you lost. She looked directly at the assembled counselors. My world owes humanity a debt we can never repay. But more than that, the galaxy owes them an apology. And perhaps, if you're wise, you'll learn from them before the next darkness comes. Because I promise you this, when it does, humanity will stand. The question is, will you? Miron turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving the galaxy's leaders in stunned silence. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery overlooking the ocean, 16 names were carved into black stone. A monument to heroes who ran toward the darkness when everyone else ran away. Admiral Chen stood before it, his weathered hand resting on the cold granite. They're calling it the Thresky miracle, he said to the empty air. Calling you heroes. Building statues. The whole galaxy knows your names now. He smiled sadly. You'd hate that, Jenna. You always said you were just doing your job. He placed a single white flower at the base of the monument. But that's what makes you human. That's what makes us human. We don't stand because we expect glory. We stand because someone needs us to. The sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 languages, people spoke of the day humanity changed everything. Not with superior weapons. Not with advanced technology. But with something far more powerful. The courage to care when caring cost everything.